You're watching Around Town with Henry Dormann.
Around Town is sponsored by Chemung Canal Trust Company. They're really nice people. Trust is their middle name. Service is their motto. And I like them a lot, and that's why I bank there. If you ever come by to look me up, I'll be in the vault. Safe place. This is really a sad interview because Tom Santulli, the county executive of Chemung County, is not running for re-election in the next year and a half, I guess it is.
17 months. My term would end at the end of next year.
And it saddens me because he's one of the most able people in government. And I'm sad because what are you going to do? Will we see you again? And how can you give this up? You're not even opposed by anybody.
Well, I mean, in all fairness to me, I've been sitting in that chair over there for 26 years. Actually, I got a new chair, so the chair is different. But I served as deputy back in 1991. You know, just a little. I started in '83. I won a seat on city council, served at 4 terms, and I enjoyed that very much. Had the pleasure of serving with Tom Tranter as his deputy in 1991, and Tom was a great county executive. In 2000, I was elected to the post, and I've run 5 elections. I've, again, 26 years. It'll be 27 years next year. I've enjoyed every second of it. It's been a great run.
What are you gonna
fine.
do
Listen,
now?
Busy people always find things to do. I'll be 16. When I leave next year. If I stay till the end of the year, I'll be 3 months away from my 70th birthday. So I just think, hey, listen, change is good. I've enjoyed what I've been doing. I love politics.
Trump is doing well at 70.
Yeah. Well, that's a good debate right there. But yeah, sir, a lot of people are driven, and listen, I do look at that and say, what drives somebody? Now, 70s is young today. I mean, it's 70s, 80s. I mean, we have people in their 90s today doing things that people never even dreamed about years ago. But that being said, I look at a Donald Trump, and you have to be a very driven person. I mean, think about this: has anybody ever gone into the presidency? That picture they take the day they come and when they leave, do they look like the same person? Usually they don't.
Ronald Reagan looked better.
Ronald Reagan looked better, but certainly President Obama certainly looked like he aged. George Bush looked like he had aged. But yeah, Ronald Reagan looked.
I asked Amo Houghton, what do you think of the president? And he said,
well, it's different.
That was a great answer.
That's different, and that would be Amo. I mean, think about the difference between President Trump and a Congressman Amo Houghton, who was probably, one of the real gentlemen. Always, was when he spoke, he always thought through it to make sure. I always looked at Amo being the person that always thought what he could say that wouldn't offend somebody, liked to make a point. And I do remember that. I remember when Amo decided to make a decision to leave, I asked him why, because he certainly had a great run and well-respected, and CEO of Corning Incorporated. And he said, Tom, when I first started, we could disagree and we could have the fight of our lives, but at the end of the day, we were still friends. And he said we could do dinner together, we could go out together. There was real camaraderie. He said, but today, he said when he left, and it's gotten a lot worse since then, he said there's a genuine dislike between some people and others. And it does, I think we're seeing it right now at the federal level, this split. And it's not just Trump. I think he added to the aggravation because he's very outspoken. He says, he's always, we've never had anybody that tweets at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and constantly. And tweeting, there's a whole world out there that tweets. I'm not one of them. I'm not a social network person, but there's a lot of people that do. And Trump has figured out that he can go out even if it's 3 o'clock in the morning. And you and I talked about this earlier. No matter what time of day, you can wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and turn on your TV because you can't sleep, come home from work in the evening and turn it on, get up in the morning and turn on the news. And let me tell you, you have a 99.9% chance they're talking about Donald Trump. And it takes a catastrophic event and to get the news off of him. And I think it's exactly his his MO. I think he knows exactly what he's doing.
I want to get a little news out of you, though.
Yeah, sure.
And you know, I asked, what are you going to do when you grow up and leave here?
Yeah.
And you didn't answer quite, but you must,
I'll figure that out.
You must have some inkling of what to do.
Yeah, I used to do some part-time teaching at the college level in my early days, and I loved it very much. I've thought about doing something like that. I can tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to run for public office again. I've enjoyed every second of it, but I would not do it again. Again, I enjoyed it, but that's not in my cards. I've had other opportunities to do other things in politics and chose not to do them. And
what about an appointment?
Nah. I want to do something a little different. I haven't quite figured out what that is. I just haven't. My mind.
Go into television.
Yeah, go into television. Yeah, maybe that's what I'd like to do, is do a show like this.
Take over this.
Take over this
Sure,
show.
that's good.
Hey, you never know. But now you got this one as long as you want it.
You said I never know.
You never know.
Watch out.
But yeah, I want to be busy because I think it's important that when you do make a decision to get out of your full-time capacity, that you stay busy. You know, one of the things I do in this job is I get invited to a ton of senior citizen groups, and I speak a lot at them, especially they have a month where we honor those people that are senior citizens. And the healthiest people that you see out there, both from their mental state and their physical state, and their physical state may be off just because of age, but because they're active and because they're busy, their health is a lot better than those that decide that they're going to maybe leave their full-time work and then land up becoming a couch potato, or you don't know what to do, and then your health changes. And because I really do believe this. When I go to retirement parties or I see people retire who have worked, and I've worked all my life. I worked when I was in, part-time when I was in college, and then got a full-time job as soon as I graduated. I've worked my entire life. Even when I was getting my master's degree, I was working full-time. I just think that constant busyness, and I really do believe this, that if you need something done, give it to somebody who's busy. People who have a lot going on, who lead full lives, keeps you young, and keeps your mind young.
One point, of all these years you spent in public life, what's the one thing that you will leave here being most proud of?
That's almost an easy one. Back in the 2010, in that era, 2007, 8, and 9, we became very involved with the unfunded mandate. George Pataki was the governor at that particular time, and our local governments were being consumed, counties, with Medicaid costs. And at that time, 110%, maybe 112% of our property tax levy went to pay for the local share just of Medicaid. Medicaid's a great program. It's meant to help the indigent with health care, but New York State is one of the few states that have a local share. Just as an example, right now, if you took every county in the United States of America and put all the money that they contributed to the local share of Medicaid, it would be $9 billion. That's to all 50 states. Of that $9 billion, $7 billion is New York State. $7 billion, yeah. $5 billion is New York City, and $2 billion is upstate New York. So we led a movement here. As a matter of fact, I'm going to Albany in September to get an award for a movement that I was very involved in the small county led, the fight to get a cap on Medicaid. And it started here, spread through the New York State Association of Counties, which I became president of in 2010. And that was a movement that we shook. It was the first time I think Albany had been shook up in a long time, but we had the mall was good enough to give us space up there to give people signatures who said that they were tired of, not of the program, but of this local share driving up taxes. And I believe we took about 12,000 signatures I remember my wife was working on a Saturday morning at the mall at this table with volunteers. We manned it for a long time. We had people there. And she said, you better get up here. We probably have a couple hundred, maybe 300 people in line. And they couldn't handle it. But we started a small movement here. Gosh, I testified in front of the Senate, the Assembly. There was a gentleman still there by the name of Dick Godfrey, who was the father of Medicaid, very powerful New York City area in the assembly. They told me I'd never get in to see him. I got an audience with him, and he liked our Medicaid program and how we thought maybe it could be changed to make the program better and less costly. And his staff told me that, I still can remember, his staff said, hey, he's going to listen to you and throw you out the door. But in the press were all lined up outside waiting to see what he did. He came out with me and said he liked what we were doing down here in Chemung County and told his staff to help us. So I look at things like that and say that would be the highlight of really having made a difference, changing a program that's a good program, but really needed some modifications to give a little ease on the burden to the taxpayer.
We're going to miss you.
Well, I'm going to miss you, but we're still going to be around.
Yeah, we're going to be around.
Yeah, we'll see each other.
And it's such an easy interview because I have one question to ask, and he fills up all the rest of the time, so I don't have to do a thing.
You're going to have to do an hour program next. There you go.
We'll see you soon.
Around Town with Henry Dormann will return in a moment.
Life, it never stops moving. Getting from here to there. Managing long hours at work. Juggling a busy home. You need a bank that keeps up. That's Chemung Canal Trust Company. Bank online. Bank with our mobile app. Deposit a check with your smartphone. Open an account at Chemung Canal and bank with us anywhere, anytime. Chemung Canal Trust Company. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
We now return to Around Town with Henry Dormann.
We are in for a treat. We're at the Corning Museum of Glass, and they have a special exhibit, but I'm not going to say a word about it because Kelly Conway is the curator, the very VIP. She knows everything, and she knows the best times to come here. And this is the Tiffany glass exhibit, and she's going to explain all of it, and I'm not going to say a word.
I hope you'll say a word.
Well, I'll say nice to see you, but not yet, because you need to see what this is like as she explains it. There's no place else in the world.
There's no place else in the world that you can experience Tiffany's glass mosaics other than here at the Corning Museum.
Before you got it, where was this all these years? They weren't at Tiffany, and were they in another museum or in a safe or something?
So, as with all special exhibitions, we bring together a lot of loans and material from all over the world into one spot at the Corning Museum of Glass, which is what makes it so special to come here. And we've done all this work to bring things together in one spot so you can experience it. So we have...
She bubbles, doesn't she?
So I love Tiffany.
She's more excited than I am.
Well, I love to talk about Tiffany, so we could be here for hours. But so this is the first time any museum has ever focused on Tiffany's glass mosaics. Mosaics are often in our communities. They're in the communities surrounding us here. Even in Corning, there's mosaics here at one of the churches here in Corning. But Tiffany, a lot of people think about Tiffany. They think about the lamps, maybe they think about that beautiful iridescent glass, the vases.
My wife
Certainly
thinks of
the
diamonds.
windows.
My wife thinks of diamonds.
Well, there's a relationship there too. We can talk about that in a minute. A lot of people really think about the stained glass windows, but did you know that Tiffany also created these beautiful glass mosaics? And we're sitting in front of this gorgeous glass mosaic that's featured here in the exhibition. So we wanted to highlight this really important part of Tiffany's work. And a lot of people tend to pass by the mosaics because they're built into the architecture of the building. And so you can just walk by it and not even realize it's made of thousands or sometimes millions of pieces of glass to create these beautiful scenes. So for the exhibition, we brought together a lot of large pieces, like this piece behind me, which is called Fathers of the Church. It was on exhibition. Tiffany exhibited it at the Chicago World's Fair in 1893. So we're sitting in front of a piece that 2 million people walked by in front of at the Chicago World's Fair.
I hate to ask you this, but when you move these beautiful works of art, sometimes do the pieces fall out?
No, they're very secure. we take a lot of care to move things very carefully at the museum, but Tiffany's mosaics were billed. He really marketed them as very sturdy, as permanent, indestructible, really stood up for fireproofing and weather, and so they're very secure. They're very sturdy pieces.
How long are you going to be open with the exhibit?
The exhibition will be open through January 7th, but summertime is a great time to come to the museum. We have all kinds of other activities related to mosaics. So one of my favorite things that we have on view in the exhibition are over 1,000 pieces of glass, the material of glass, that were used in mosaics, that were left over when the factory, Tiffany's factory, closed in the 1930s. So we've brought together all of the raw materials that go into making these glass mosaics. So you can learn about all of the different types of glass. And there's really innovative types of glass that Tiffany was using in mosaics in ways he never used in his windows. And I think that will really surprise people. And we show you how a lot of that glass is made. And you can go to a hot glass demonstration and watch about how some of these innovative ways that Tiffany was working in glass, and then come to the exhibition and see it in its raw sheet glass form, and then look at objects and see how it was used to create these wonderful pictures.
Let me ask this, if anybody wants further information, is there a number they should call? Is there a website they should call?
Sure.
How long are you open? Every day, 7 days a week? And also, if people want to come with their families, is it expensive?
Well, that's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
But you can find out the answer to all of those questions if you go to our website. So
Somehow I knew that.
www.CMoG.org. And yes, so kids and teens up to 17 are free. So you're always free if you're 17 or under to come to the museum, which is
qualify.
great. And we are open absolutely 7 days a week, and the exhibition's up through January 7th. And you can go online and you can find out when hot glass demonstrations are going on. You can book your tickets online. And I actually am going to do this for a friend of mine tomorrow with her children, who are both under 17, sign up for a make your own glass experience where you can make your own mosaic. So we're going to do that together.
This is one exhibit that you're curating, but you're here all the time curating other exhibits. How did you get such a nice job?
That's luck, good timing. I study hard, you work hard, and I love glass. I grew up in another town that's known for glass called Toledo, Ohio. It's the Glass City. So it's no surprise that I landed here in the Crystal City, which is what Corning is known as. And in fact, I'm working on an exhibition. We're going to be rearranging and giving a little bit of a refresh to our Crystal City galleries here in the next year. So just as soon as we opened the Tiffany show, I'm on to the next thing.
What a nice job you have.
They keep me busy here.
What a nice job you have. Gee whiz.
It's a great job. So
I think you're wonderful, and she bubbles like this in real life too. You are very nice, and I thank you.
Thank you for being here.
You should come by and see it while it's here. It's really spectacular. What you see on television is fine, but in person, it's really spectacular. I wanted to go buy one of the mosaic pieces and see if I could take a little souvenir, But
Well, we have some
they watch
things-
you very closely.
We do, but we have some things in our glass market that you can take home and purchase, so you can have a little bit of it that
Is
way.
she good? Is she good? Thank you very much.
Thank
you
you.
very much. Come by. I will be looking at one of these. Looking forward to seeing you.
Around Town with Henry Dormann will return in a moment.
Life, it never stops moving. Getting from here to there. Managing long hours at work. Juggling a busy home. You need a bank that keeps up. That's Chemung Canal Trust Company. Bank online. Bank with our mobile app. Deposit a check with your smartphone. Open an account at Chemung Canal and bank with us anywhere, anytime. Chemung Canal Trust Company. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
We now return to Around Town with Henry Dormann.
There are all kinds of things happening at Elmira College, and Chuck Lindsay is the new president, and he is changing all kinds of things here, which I want to find out about, because not only are you setting up new things for faculty, but you're setting up new things for students and future students. So I'm going to just ask one question, and then I'll leave the whole thing to you.
Wow.
He's a good talker. But the rumors are all over the place about all the new things and exciting things that you're doing. And I'm wondering how you come up with this and when they will be implemented and what will be implemented.
Well,
That's a good, big, long one.
that's a big, long one. But I'm happy to talk about it.
He is the nicest fellow of all the presidents I've had in the last 10 years since I've been working with the college. He is one of the most able and one of the nicest.
Oh, well,
So
well, thank you.
And they're not giving me a degree, so forget about it.
Yes, we've got a lot of initiatives in mind, and I think the advantage I have is that I've been here for 5 years, so I know the institution pretty well. So we don't have to go through any kind of get-to-know-you phase. The second advantage is that I'm going to be they say the permanent president. Now that sounds a little daunting, like I'll be around until I die, but it gives me the chance to introduce some continuity and structure. So one of the first things I'm going to do is introduce a strategic planning process that taps into all of the good ideas that are here among the faculty. I'm going to involve the students in that process because we've been on hold for a little while. We hadn't had the opportunity to plan for the future, and so now we can. But I do have some ideas about that. We have a very strong liberal arts program, core program in the sciences and social sciences, and I want to emphasize that in all our programs. And when I was in college, I took a course in history, and I used to think of history as a bunch of facts, and I'd memorize the facts and I could get an A. And I very quickly found out that was not the case, that it was how you interpreted the facts and how you evaluated the sources. And so it was more of a higher order thinking. And that's the essence of what the liberal arts is supposed to do. And so that's why we're looking at focusing on things like that that teach students critical thinking, how to really think, because with the job market changing so rapidly, that's the kind of thing they need to know how to do.
What about this whole, I should say, not problem necessarily, but computerization? It can be a good thing, it can be a problem. But you have all kinds of programs involving the changes there and what young people should know and what you can provide for them to use here. And how at your advanced age did you get to know so much about computerization?
I would never say that I know too much about computers and technology, but we're starting a new initiative on digital humanities. And that's a fancy way of saying we're going to take the traditional subjects like English, history, philosophy, psychology, and we're going to look at them through the lens of technology. So that means podcasting and website design and digital mapping and all those things that you and I don't really understand that well.
Speak for yourself.
That's things that the students are going to learn how to use to explore those subjects. So now you're marrying those two things in a way that they learn the technology and they learn the subject. And the other initiative I want to use that for is so that they work with the community. I think that there needs to be a better partnership between the city of Elmira, the Southern Tier, and Elmira College. And so we would provide students who would work with local businesses to show them about designing a website and those kinds of things. I really want Elmira College to play an educational role. We're an educational institution for the community, for the surrounding area. So,
is it harder to get in now than it used to be?
No, we do have academic standards, but we're actually looking to expand the size of the student body. We think that we're at about 1,100 students now. We'd like to be at 1,500 or 1,600, and that's because we want greater diversity on campus. We want a broader array of students, and because that's going to contribute to the educational experience. The reason I'm here is because I think the small private college where you live on campus, that's the kind of experience that has the most change, that has the most impact on students. That gets me excited. So If we can get a richer diversity of students here, the learning will be all the better.
Do you look forward to having students mostly from this area or from a much further expanded area in other states, in New York City, etc.?
Yes.
Because you have really some of the most beautiful dormitory facilities of any college, and enough green here to make a whole book of beautiful things.
Oh, well, thank you. I think students
You even made a film about that, about just how beautiful this campus is.
People are very impressed when they first come on campus at how wonderful things look. And you're right, the residence halls and spaces are really quite something. I think also then when they get to know the people, they find out that there's a very strong sense of community. And that's the secret to having a good education. If they feel supported, if they really get to know a faculty member as a mentor, that makes the difference for them. You talked about different markets and where we want students from. We're very interested in having people from the Southern Tier region, but we're beginning to reach out to Pennsylvania, particularly the Philadelphia area, Boston, Western Connecticut, North Jersey, and DC. We found out that while we have some students from there, we're pretty much an unknown. So we think we have a product that people from those regions will really be interested in taking a look at. So we'll be more geographically diverse as well.
What happens if somebody who's watching now needs information and is ready to call you up and come over right away? Who do they call? What's the number? Is there a website?
The best way is to just go to elmira.edu, and there's some contact information on the front page. And another good way is to come to Fridays on the Lawn. All summer we have an admissions event up at the admissions office where there's a meet and greet and get to know people, and it's informal, and you can have a tour of campus. That's Friday mornings, every Friday during the whole summer.
Is that at that beautiful former president's house?
That's right. I didn't get the chance to live there. We turned it into the admissions office, but that's all for the good.
That's quite a place.
It is quite the place, yes. It reminds me of Tara in Gone with the Wind.
And a great place for a student who wants to look at the place to really see something.
Yes, it makes a great first impression on students. So I should say maybe one more initiative that we've done. We signed an agreement with Regent's University in London, England, and we have a 4+1 program with them, the only one that Regent's has with an American university. And that means our graduates can go get a master's degree, mostly in business areas, but in other fields too, at Regent's in 1 year. And they guarantee that, as long as the students meet the requirements. And so we have 6 students going over this fall. And so we're really excited about the possibilities there of developing this partnership. You get this strong educational program at Elmira, and then you go for your international experience to become more cosmopolitan.
You've done a terrific amount of things in a short time. Where do you get all this energy from?
I'd really say from the people that work here and from the students. I love interacting with the students. I'm planning on having office hours. I'm going to be hanging out at the Starbucks Cafe on campus. And when you see the students excited about what's going on for them, that gets me excited.
Well, I want to thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a delight to see all the excitement and just all of the bubbling of your brain that you're doing. It's kind of fun, especially for me looking and watching the place for a number of years. This is really a whole new kind of, not a revolution in the bad sense of the word, but in the wonderful sense of the word.
Oh, well, thank you.
And that's very nice of you, and I'm glad we finally met, and I'm so happy that you're here because you're getting me excited. Maybe I could get back into college again.
We'd be
Well, you
happy
never
to
know.
accept an application.
Keep your eyes open, you never know. We'll see you soon.
You're watching WENY HD.